Wait. So, just because I was standing in a doorway brandishing a hammer, that means I must be the leader of the Aces and Eights? Guys, come on, man. You're smarter than this. That could mean any number of things.
Well, Fulker, you got to put yourselves in our shoes, man. You know, we were on your side this whole time, and then that picture just shows up out of nowhere under our door, of all things. And, you know, me and NJ are just sitting there thinking, we just don't know what to think anymore, man. Seriously.
Look, I know, okay? I know what you must be thinking right now, but you gotta believe me, I'm being set up.
Well, you have to admit, it looks awfully suspicious, Paul Killer.
Well, of course it looks suspicious. I mean, I saw the picture. It's supposed to look suspicious, that's the whole point. But it's all circumstantial. It doesn't prove anything.
Well, answer this. What were we even doing with that hammer anyway? I thought you said that thing had disappeared.
It did. It still is. The picture must have been taken months ago. Somebody took it and kept it as insurance, waiting until the right time to incriminate me, and then sent it to you guys, the only ones who are publicly defending me, as a way to discredit you. But why now? Why now, just when I was distracted dealing with Smokey? It can't be a coincidence. It can't be.
I don't know, man. Conspiracy stuff sounds really unlikely. What were you even doing with the hammer anyway? Do you have an explanation for that?
Of course I have an explanation for it. I mean, I was just... I'll call you back.
No, this is for fuck's sake. How can I believe this dude anymore? So we tried to get some answers from Fulkiller on Skype. Incredibly frustrating. We know what the answer is now. What the fuck was all that picture business about, dude? Seriously.
He was trying to come clean about it, but he coughed the last minute. And for us to believe in Full Killer again, we need the answer straight up.
Yeah, and to be honest, this whole Aces and Eights business that we're dealing with Full Killer right now, it meant that we missed the first hour of the show, so we missed the first 4 matches on the show. Apparently, this was the biggest American crowd TNA have had ever, and if we just run through the results of these opening 4 matches, which I frankly didn't really care about too much anyway, but thanks for that, Full Killer. You made us miss the first freaking hour. Kenny King retained his X Division title. No surprise there. Joseph Park beat Joey Ryan. No surprise there. Velvet Sky retained the Knockouts Championship. No real surprise there. No real surprise also that Taryn Terrell kind of turned on Gail Kim, as that's been teased. And Rob Terry beat Robbie E. Very, we kind of logical results.
I look at these 4 matches. I don't really see a follow-on storyline for any of these 4 because King retained his championship. That's that sorted. Joey Spot beat Joey Ryan. That was a throw-in match. Velvet retains. Okay, she's retained. She's beat Gail, so Gail doesn't really get a rematch. And Rob Terry beat Robbie E. Wow.
Yeah, and Taz's commentary was just god-awful throughout this pay-per-view. I mean, how many times was you tempted to press the mute button?
For a heel, he didn't do the very good job, no.
What's that over there?
British Fist, you are no more.
Worthless mortals, I'm back! I'm British Fist, you think I'm ready to save today? Well, believe me, at the end of this night, the best is yet to come.
Well, it looks like Terminator NJ's back with a vengeance, and he kind of maybe saved us from an AcesAnd8's member?
It looks like he did save us, but he feels like he's still up to something, which is a bit worrying.
Yes, it is very worrying, but anyway, now that we have that, we're going to get on with this lockdown review. The Tag Team Championship match was the first match we officially watched on this pay-per-view. Lost Stereotypicals versus Wet Dream Team versus Bad Influence. Thank God they got Rude's contract sorted after what happened over this weekend with his contract apparently expiring without TNA even knowing.
I think with Bobby Roode being there, it at least gave us the match that we wanted to see. Even with him in it, though, I didn't feel this was the most amazing match. I think he had its spots to make a good match, but nothing amazing.
I think the AJ Angle and Bad Influence and Los Stereotypicos tag team match was a bit better than this one. I'm not saying this wasn't a bad match at all. It was a pretty good match. It was weird seeing Los Stereotypos actually getting cheered, because generally they don't get cheered. They must have been in their hometown here or something.
It must have been an ideal something thrown around to give them the cheer. But I think the best thing about this match was, of course, the Bobby Roode and Aries getting their retain at the end.
Yeah, and they basically stealed the win from Chavo. Basically, they lie, they cheat, they steal. And after Roode blind tagged Chavo to get in and pinned, I believe it was Christopher Daniels. So Roode and Aries retained their belts. No real surprise there after they won it on Impact.
I look forward to see what comes next.
Kurt Angle versus Wes Briscoe. This was the first of 3 steel cage matches we had on this edition of TNA Lockdown. It's weird. I mean, Kurt, you generally when you want Kurt Angle in cage matches, you want him against big names. He was against Wes Briscoe here, and Angle tried in this match. He really did try. We had the typical Angle spots, the typical finishers, the German from the cage. But as much as Angle was really trying here, it just kind of came off as just okay to me and nothing really more.
I think the story behind this deserved more of just a normal one-on-one match more than a cage aspect, because the story didn't really need the cage. The match itself, okay, it had its spots, like I said again, but yes, I don't think Wes is ready to, or will ever be ready, we could say, possibly, to be up against someone like a Kurt Angle.
Well, I don't think he'll ever be ready, but it is very early for him in this, but he was put in a big spot against Kurt Angle. That's all I'll say about that. The referee didn't see Angle escape the cage, which meant that D'Lo Brown came down, attacked Kurt Angle, and that allowed Wes Briscoe to win. So, are you surprised they made Wes Briscoe beat Kurt Angle on this pay-per-view?
I think, no, I'm not surprised, because the way they had Wes beat Angle worked like a pinfall submission. It was a cheaty way to win, which you expect from a heel wrestler or heel faction to do. So for that to happen to Kurt Angle either means the feud can continue, or hopefully onto a normal one-on-one match, or it's going to move on to Angle and D'Lo.
Yeah, D'Lo Brown being the difference in this match. Anyway, Magnus, we had the Lethal Lockdown match after this, a semi-main event. No surprise there, the AcesAnd8's get the semi-main event. Hell, the AcesAnd8's won a match tonight, which was good. Magnus, Samoa Joe, EY, James Storm and Sting versus the AcesAnd8's in Lethal Lockdown. And I must admit, for the first 18 minutes, this was pretty boring. It wasn't until business started kicking up when Sting brought the weapons in where, it started to pick up a little bit, really.
Again, even with Sting, I didn't really feel this was the best match. I weren't really entertained. Again, it was all about the odd spot here and there that made me somewhat interested in this. And every time Sting wants to take out an AcesAnd8's member, he has to use a weapon. Must be his age, or maybe... No, it can't be the dominance of the AcesAnd8's. And yes, this match, again, it ended in a way that was predictable, because when AcesAnd8's had their matches, apart from on free TV, on occasion, they lose.
My first thought in this match was when the last guy came in, where was the roof? There was no usual Lethal Lockdown roof, which was a little bit surprising, but they had 2 good spots in this match, which really did make the match, from a sort of bad match to a kind of okay match. You had that great spot with Samoa Joe when he suplexed everyone, seemingly, from the cage, and you had that last spot with Eric Young elbowing from the top of the cage to get the victory. I think those 2 big spots were kind of big enough for me to drag this match from kind of boring to actually being an okay kind of Lethal Lockdown match. Not a good Lethal Lockdown, but one that at least I can look back and say there was a couple of good moments in there.
I still thought, again, yes, they tried to swerve, making the AcesAnd8 look like they could win, but with Sting and his boys there, EY get the win of the AcesAnd8, it didn't do it for me.
So AcesAnd8 lose. What a surprise. Then we get to the main event of the evening. This is undoubtedly going to be the big talking point of this pay-per-view. There's not really much point in talking about the match here, because let's face it, the match was very secondary to the big angle that was going to come after the match itself. Well, we said before the pay-per-view that Bully Ray turning heel and joining the AcesAnd8's would be very predictable and we'd all see it coming. And yes, we all saw this heel turn coming, but to me, this was probably the best way that TNA could have finished their Lockdown pay-per-view, and I felt the execution here was actually quite good, considering the fact that I knew it was coming. I think this was the best way they could have ended Lockdown, in my opinion, especially after what I felt was a kind of okay, lackluster show.
The best thing about it for me is Bully Ray's here again where he belongs, and my famous 3 words is used, screwed and fooled.
So Bully Ray turns heel and joins the Ace and 8's, and TNA even put some plants in there to throw the rubbish in the ring, much like they try and relive every NWO type storyline. And I'll say this, even though I've hated the Ace and 8's storyline, at least Bully Ray being the president, although it makes him a bit of a joke being the president of that faction, at least Bully Ray is the president of the faction. I can kind of be a little bit interested in this angle. I mean, the Ace and 8's now have the World Championship in their faction. That's a good thing, even though they lost tonight in the legal lockdown.
Bully Ray, as a champion, as a heel, does not need a faction of any kind to be over, to look good, to win matches. So him being a part of the Ace and 8's, okay, fine. But again, I just hope when it goes on to him defending it, the Ace and 8's don't have to get involved to try and keep the title on him, because Bully Ray does not need it.
Well, I'll say this. It was a good moment for Bully Ray. I think this is well deserved for Bully Ray. But if you think about it, TNA have done this quite well in the sense that they've really made Bully Ray go on the babyface side, and you know, it was kind of, even though it was kind of projected that he was going to turn heel, it was like a really good moment to win the pay-per-view. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I really want to hear everyone else's comments on this thing, really, to be honest, because I think that, you know, the people's view out there matters, and the fact that we didn't watch all the show means that we can't really give a legitimate ultimate thoughts on this show, to be honest.
Overall, though, from what I did see, I weren't really pumped up about this pay-per-view. I went into it with bad thoughts. I'm coming out with minimal good thoughts. But people, please give your thoughts, because our thoughts, yes, it's what you're tuning to hear, but we want to hear your thoughts in return.
Yeah, so Bully Ray is the leader of the Ace and 8's. So what the fuck was all that shit with the picture of All Killer? I just don't get it. I really don't. But anyway, that's been it from another review with us, the British Fist.
Good.
Mr. Parkin here, NJ here.
What's up?
And could we have the final words from you, NJ?
Thank you very much for watching this review, people. Please tune to Thursday so we can find out what happens next to us and to TNA. But from Mr. Parkin, I'm the NJ. People, keep on smiling, and goodbye. So you think tonight was it, worthless mortals? Well, tune in for a British Fist TNA review to find out what else is yet to come.